news, the outgoing moderator of the Presbyterian Church of Ghana, Professor Emmanuel Martey, has made some wild allegations about politicians trying to bribe him with huge sums of money in a bid to get him to stop making public comments.
Reverend Professor Martey was responding to a question about the role of politics in religion at a press conference organized by the church in Accra. Joy News' Maxwell Agbagba was at the press conference and comes through with this report.
The press conference was organized by the church on the back of its 16th General Assembly meeting at Abitifiku. The communique read by Reverend Professor Martey touched on various social issues in the country. Amongst other issues, the church urged and backed calls for the extension of senior high school duration to 4 years.
Severe punishment for culprits of examination malpractices be invoked. And E, the call by various stakeholders, including the Conference of Heads of Assisted Secondary Schools, CHAS, for the duration of the senior high school to be extended to 4 years must be considered by government.
Reverend Professor Martey also used the opportunity to state emphatically that the Presbyterian Church is non-partisan. He is on record to have said the Presbyterian Church will partner the NPP in development when voted into power. But he clarified that the church has been partnering political parties since time immemorial.
The Presbyterian Church of Ghana does not belong to any party. And the Presbyterian Church of Ghana does not support any party. The Presbyterian Church of Ghana is in existence before all political parties came. And I want to say this: we have seen governments over governments. All governments that come to rule our dear nation, we partner. Presbyterian Church of Ghana partner them. Let me say this, and please let this be heard loud and clear. At the moment, the Presbyterian Church of Ghana is partnering NDC government in the governance of our nation. So those who say that Reverend Martey is NPP, maybe they pay my NPP dues for me.
The outgoing moderator of the church also made some allegations about attempts by some politicians to gag him from making public comments.
Listen, they have tried, politicians have tried all means, all means to muzzle me, to get me, but they can't. They come with bribes, fat envelope, $100,000. Listen. I want everybody to listen. Politicians came to my house with fat envelope, $100,000, not cedis, dollars, and also with the promises that if you keep quiet, we will give you a house at Trazaco with swimming pool. You know what? We will give you 4-wheel drive. These people were lucky. I did not have big dogs in my house.
For Joy News, Maxwell Agbagba.
Okay, I don't know what you'd have done if you offered such an amount of money.
Well, I have a friend who says it would have to happen for me to know.
I see. Anyway, but
obviously no bribes. If it's a bribe, yeah.
It's not always about the money.
Obviously, like the song said.
Indeed. All right. In other news, Deputy Power Minister John Jinapor has warned the impending shutdown of the Chuabo gas processing plants for mandatory maintenance today may result in some power challenges.
The warning contradicts assurances from Gridco that the shutdown should not impact power supply. John Jinapor explains the arrangements have been made to switch some of the thermal plants to generate electricity using crude oil. There could be some downtimes which may result in outages. He, however, says the maintenance would last for just a few days.
of our plants have depended on the gas, especially Amere and some other thermal plants. And so if you are not having gas, it means that there's a constraint. But the engineers are working around the clock. We may switch some of the plants to light crude, which is also a process. And so I would want to use this occasion to appeal to Ghanaians to bear with us in the event that we may be doing some switching. If there's any interruption, they should bear with us. The positive side is that we don't anticipate the shutdown to be for a long period of time. My understanding is that it's for a couple of days and they'll return. Even with that, we are determined to work around the clock to ensure that we sustain power as much as we can. But when you are working with machines, especially when you are switching, you may encounter one hitch or the other. And so I just want to appeal to Ghanaians to bear with us. I just want to assure you and state emphatically that I am confident that given the programs and the activities that we have undertaken, we have gone past the worst scenario where people went out without electricity for days. Even if we have a challenge, it would normally be a technical hitch that we hope to be able to resolve as soon as possible.
Mr. Djenepour was speaking to journalists after a meeting to resolve concerns raised by the Public Utility Workers Union about plans to cede the Electricity Company of Ghana to a private company as a concession for 25 years. The staff of ECG have organized a series of protests to stop this.
Although the meeting failed to reach common ground, the Deputy Minister says the ministry would deepen its engagements with POO in a bid to allow for clarity on the planned concessional agreement under the Second Millennium Challenge Compact.
It was a frank, transparent and open discussion. What we identified is that we have to deepen the engagement and the communication between MEDA and the staff and the union of ECG. Employee security is one. How the concession would go on is another. Even the concession itself, they have some issues, and we believe that we ought to engage further and further clarify. You may explain issues, but issues keep coming up. Information keeps coming up. And so as a human institution, it's only proper that we continue to deepen the process. And as I said, from the meeting, it was obvious that all of us have resolved to work together. Albeit we may have our differences, we may have different positions, but it is beneficial for the state and the country if we continue to deepen the process and have a common ground.
Chief Executive of the Volta River Authority, Engineer Isaac Kofi, has assured electricity consumers of an uninterrupted power supply, even as Ghana Gas prepares for its routine maintenance. The maintenance work means 240 megawatts of power would be taken off from the national grid during the maintenance period. But
with the hydro dam rising up to 240 feet, Engineer Kofi says the development in the Akosombo Dam ties in so well and will mitigate any unforeseen development in the power sector.
The good news is that today the level is 240.0. This is roughly 2 feet above what we were a year ago today. And we are just about the beginning of September. Normally we rise to November. So I think that's good for us. And looking at the forecast for rainfall, I think things should be okay for us. But it's still low. I mean, even with the rain level, it's still very low. So we have to still manage whatever inflow we get this year in the coming year.
Okay, I'm sure for those who are watching, the easy question to ask is, what does this mean for power generation?
As the level goes up, and with available thermal generation, it then shows that we should be able to manage with the supply of electricity. So this is good. We anticipated that to be all right, but then what is so good, I think these are all good signs for us.
Okay, Max, as you say, these are good signs. Just tomorrow, we know that Ghana Gas is doing their routine maintenance in Atuabo. That will mean that our annual plants will go off automatically, 250 megawatts out of the mix. Does this Akosombo story fit into bridging that deficit we'll have starting tomorrow?
Yes, we are aware of this current gas shutdown more than a month, 2 months ago. So we have planned adequately for that. You know, we planned it way ahead, so we knew it was going to go down. So we should be able to also be supply without anybody noticing that our trouble is now.
University teachers have asked vice chancellors to consider cutting down the number of intake for freshmen in the 2016-2017 academic year.
UTAG, among other things, is worried its members cannot cope with the widening teacher-student ratio considering the freeze on recruitment into that sector. Joining us is Joseph Akable spent some time at the University of Ghana to interact with students as well as participate in lectures and has come through with the following report.
So I'm here at the University of Ghana, the highest ranked university in West Africa. The University Teachers Association of Ghana recently made a call to vice chancellors across the tertiary institutions to cut down the number of students they admit in the coming year. UTAG is of the view that the large number of students being admitted makes the class size too large for lecturers to handle. So I'm here to first and foremost have a look at what the lecture hall looks like on a normal day. Then again, I also talk to some students to find out what they make of the class size as to whether it affects academic work or not. The KAB John Scotte block, one major lecture block here at the University of Ghana. I'm here to show you how a large lecture hall looks like. The screen that displays the lecturer's notes is the focus for many. For a class this large, it helps students to follow lectures keenly. I managed to grab a seat at the back of the lecture hall that can be occupied by as many as 700 students. The speaker that hangs high above the walls in the lecture hall makes the lecturer's voice audible for all. Few minutes to the end of the lecture, I exit to interact with some students. Ordinarily, what's the size of your lecture?
We are about close to 300 students. So I do social work, so you can imagine the class. We are very much. In fact, some of the lecturers are ineffective, especially when given an assignment, and sometimes they just come to class and just read everything that they have there, but do not go further because they are afraid of the marking, they are afraid of the assignment being piled up there, and I think it's tiring for them.
I think it's a major challenge because what happens often at times here at the University of Ghana, for instance, is that you always have a very huge class such that it is very difficult for lecturers to have that one-on-one interaction that we would need for the quality of education and the teaching and the learning and all that. So it's generally a problem, but there's little we can do as students. We can't say much. We would just have to go through the system. I think that for students or for people who go through the high schools and want to go to the universities, they should have the opportunity to go to the university. If there exists any challenge, it ought to be through a concerted effort with government and other stakeholders to make sure that if it is lectures that we need, as many as we can employ, we do that and make sure that students get to benefit from the schools. Let's not say because the teacher or lecturer student ratio is very limited, and for that matter we don't have enough in terms of the quality. We should do that and disadvantage people, as in students, from getting the opportunity to be in school.
There are about more than 320 students in the lecture hall. It does affect academic works in a certain way because some people come for lectures and all they do is to just pass unnecessary comments, which sometimes I find very unpleasant, and because of the large number, most of them are not seen by the lecturer to be sent out. So I think it really affects academics here. For me, I'm actually able to ask questions, and the lecturer does also interprets it well to me, to my understanding. But then some people, they're actually shy because of the large number. Most of them ask questions and end up being laughed at. But I think if we have a small number of people in a particular class, it would actually help.
I do political science, and we have a little over 700 students in our class for the entire political science class. But when I came to level 100, we're a little over 800 here.
And do you think this affects your academic work?
Yeah, obviously, looking at the class size of 700, you have a lot of doing lectures. There's a lot of noise because of the petty talking among students, and it distracts teaching and learning. And also, we still use the whiteboard and the marker, and obviously, students have to strain their eyes. Those who sit at the back, they have to strain their eyes before they see what is being written on the whiteboard. And lecturers also complain that they have to invest more because for a lecturer who has one course during the week, would have to divide the class, and so instead of coming teaching that course just once in a week, it ends up teaching it about 3 or 4 times because he has to divide the class to have maximum attention.
So you have seen what the lecture hall looks like. We've also heard that call coming from UTAG calling on vice chancellors of the various institutions to cut down the number of students that they will be admitting. You also heard the opinions of some students, very varied opinions coming in from the students here. As it stands, we are all watching what the vice chancellors across the various tertiary institutions will be doing as well. They will hit to this call by UTAG. Joseph Akabile, Joy News, Accra.
This very story is pretty interesting because we know that government has come out to suggest that there's no freeze. We've actually given them the go-ahead to recruit some more people.
Yeah, but UTAG says that's not true.
We need to hear
because
from Vice
they are the
Chancellor
people
Ghana.
on the ground.
We
Yes,
need
sure,
to
we
hear
need
from
to hear
Vice
from
Chancellor
them.
Ghana. But meanwhile, President of the University Teachers Association of Ghana, Dr. Harry Agbenu, has revealed that the uncertainty surrounding the high intake of tertiary students into public universities has become a political issue as politicians continue to mount pressure on managers of the institutions to admit more students than they can accommodate to boost their political ambitions.
Speaking on the pulse, the development, according to Dr. Agbenu, puts undue pressure on the very few lecturers and also makes teaching and learning unnecessarily challenging.
Managers of our institutions are under pressure from government. You know, government to take in as many of the students as possible. It's become a political issue.
Now that the time for the first students to come in is drawing closer, you're saying that for the vice chancellor, they have not told UTAG whether or not they would cut down on the intake?
We have called on them. They have not officially informed us that they are cutting down. But we believe that our vice chancellors understand and appreciate the call we are making.
And are willing to toe the line?
And they will listen.
And they will listen?
Yes, sir.
But you also mentioned that it's also a political matter. So it's a fine blend between listening to you and listening to government.
That is why our vice chancellors, our managers will have to stand up to the occasion and take on the autonomy that is granted them under the Constitution, under the acts that establish the universities. The universities are supposed to be autonomous. They are supposed to have academic freedom.
Supposed to be, but are they?
They are not entirely, but we have called on them to try.
Are you not putting them in a very difficult position to take these decisions?
We are helping them. They see us as we are helping them.
Because you see, if government says admit more, you say don't admit, because if you do, we can't teach them.
Admit more. No, it's just a simple position to make to government that, well, we wish we could have admitted more, but we don't have the space, we don't have the manpower.
Now let's move on to other stories. The Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection says irresponsible parenting is taking a serious toll on child development. Acting Director General for Gender, Dr. Comfort Asari, believes increasing rate of sexual abuse and teenage pregnancy are the result of such neglect.
She fears the situation could become worse if adults remain adamant to change without proper training for children. Dr. Asari spoke to Joy News' Mahmoud Mohamed Nuruddin.
Acting Director General cited instances where parents indulge in promiscuous acts in rooms they share with their daughters. In such circumstances, according to her, the children are exposed to such immoral acts they are likely to copy from the parents. Dr. Asari spoke at a stakeholder sensitization workshop on the national gender policy.
Sometimes some of these parents are so irresponsible that they even have sex before their children. And when children see certain things, they learn, and they also go out to experiment. I've handled a case where a man brought the daughter, claiming the daughter was promiscuous and was sleeping around with boys. And this girl said, "Oh, you, my father, every day we are in one room, single room." And she was sleeping with the father. She was on the floor, the father was on the bed.
It seeks to mainstream gender equality and women empowerment issues into Ghana's development agenda. She said the empowerment strategy focuses on reducing poverty and eliminating social injustice.
Charity begins at home. We should train our children in the proper way. If you don't teach your child, if you don't sit your child down and teach your child certain things, you can't say you have trained your child. Sending your child to school is not enough. You have to let the child also hear from you as a parent, as a mother, as a father.
Reporting for Joy News, Mahmoud Mohamed Nuruddin.
So that'll be it for the news. And remember, we have a lot more, like I said. Remember to stay interactive. Our various social media handles: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Join News on TV.
Yes, exactly.
WhatsApp is 0560
800,000,
okay.
0560800000. Would love to hear from you. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll do the newspapers.
I'm eagerly anticipating that. We'll be back.